Hello and welcome to another delicious and exciting episode of Cook and Teach. I'm your host, Mr. C, the Cook and Teach. Today I'm going to make a crispy chicken with a delicious spinach cream sauce that'll go over the top of it and just take it to the next level. What you're going to do to prepare our chicken, I've got a chicken breast here, and what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to cut this lengthwise in half, making sure that we run our blade through the center of the chicken breast and try to get two equal sized portions. And then what you're going to want to do is I've got some saran wrap here, and we're going to separate these two chicken breasts out onto our plate, cover, and we're just ever so gently going to pound out and tenderize our chicken breasts. All right. Next, we're going to need a couple of different things for our dredge for our chicken. Now, I'm not going to be deep frying these today because I don't want that nasty oil, that big mess. I'm going to be air frying these, and they're going to turn out crispy all the same. In order to do that, I'm going to need 2 eggs here, okay? I'm going to crack these 2 eggs. Now, when cracking eggs, you want to make sure that you do that on a flat surface. The reason being is because you want to avoid the bacteria from the outside of the eggshell getting into our eggs. When you crack it on a round or not flat surface, the egg tends to crack inward into the egg and bring in some of that bacteria on the outer shell. So when you crack an egg, make sure you crack it on a flat surface. So we've got our egg dredge here. I've got some all-purpose flour. And with that all-purpose flour, I just want to season it up a little bit. So I'm going to take some onion powder, some garlic powder. I want a little bit of heat on the back end, so I'm going to use some crushed red pepper. If you're not a big spice fan, you can absolutely not add this to our flour mixture. We're going to do a couple cracks of fresh black pepper. And then just a couple pinches of salt. I'm going to take a clean fork and kind of just give that a mix. Make sure that all the ingredients and seasonings are mixed well with our flour. We want to try to avoid getting, a big piece of just one particular seasoning. So we want to make sure that that's well incorporated into the flour. That looks good. Now, I also have some breadcrumbs here. I'm using Italian breadcrumbs. If you have regular breadcrumbs, that's fine. You can just season it with whatever types of seasonings you prefer. Now, the way this is going to work is I'm going to take my chicken breasts, I'm going to go egg mixture into flour, back to our egg mixture, and then into the breadcrumbs. This is going to help everything adhere a little bit better. And then when it fries in the air fryer and it comes out, we're going to have a nice crunch on our chicken. So I'm going to take some tongs here. We're going to take one of our chicken breasts. We're going to just dip that and flip it into our egg mixture, making sure to take off any of the excess egg. Dip it into our flour. Now, typically, if you're doing this with your hands, you're going to want a wet hand and a dry hand. Because I'm using some tongs here, I can kind of avoid that step. Now, I'm taking my tongs, though, and kind of making sure I push it into our flour mixture. I'm going to do this kind of twice on both sides to make sure that everything is incorporated and that the entire chicken breast is covered in flour. Now, back into our egg mixture, making sure that it is evenly coated. Flip that over twice, and then now into our breadcrumbs. I'm taking my tongs and kind of using it to scoop some of the breadcrumbs along the side here and making sure that I get the chicken completely covered in those breadcrumbs. I'm going to flip, kind of shake that around, toss some more breadcrumbs on there. Okay, that looks good. So you should be left with a piece of chicken that is completely covered with our breadcrumb mixture. And I'm going to do the same thing here with our other chicken breast. Now, once these are fully coated in our egg, flour, and breadcrumb mixture, this is going to go in the air fryer, 400 degrees, for about 20 minutes until the internal temperature roughly about 155, 160. With chicken, you want to make sure that it's internally cooked to about 165. But the reason why I'm going a little lower is because after I take it out of the air fryer, it's going to continue to cook. So I don't want to set it to 165 on the air fryer, only because I fear if you do that, you're going to end up with some dry chicken. And let me tell you, nobody wants that. Okay, this is covered in our flour and egg mixture here. Now those are going into the breadcrumbs to get coated. Okay, this is looking good. Now, while these are in our air fryer, air frying, I'm going to show you how to make a delicious creamy spinach sauce that's going to go over the top of this. You can serve this obviously on top of a bed of rice with salad, or honestly just by itself with maybe a side dish of some veggies, mashed potatoes, whatever you fancy. All right, these look good. I'm going to go ahead and get these in the air fryer, and then I'm going to show you how to make that delicious spinach cream sauce. All right, we're back here. We're going to go ahead and start preparing for our nice creamy spinach sauce that's going to go over our chicken. Now, I'm going to need about 4 to 5 cloves of garlic. If you want to use the jarred stuff, that's totally fine. I have 5 fresh cloves here that I'm going to finely mince and kind of chop up here. And you're going to want about 1 onion. I'm going to use a yellow onion here. First, I'm going to go ahead and go in with this garlic. Now, I'm going to try and cut this as thinly as possible. We want the nice aromatics from the garlic into our sauce. And then when these cook, they're going to cook and become nice and tender and really bring another level to our sauce that'll go over that chicken. Okay, we'll cut it one way, and we'll kind of chop it across the other way here. Now, if you're a big fan of garlic like me, I don't mind if there's some larger chunks of garlic here. I find that garlic can only help a dish. All right, we got our garlic there. Go ahead and put that into a bowl. Now with our onion, we're going to want to make sure that we chop this nice and thin. Go ahead and peel our garlic here, or our onion. I'm going to come across one way, and then we're going to chop and nicely and thinly dice our onion here. Now I'm using a whole onion, again, kind of like with the garlic. If you're a big fan of onion like I am, I think a whole onion is appropriate here. If you're someone that is not big of a fan in onions, use half an onion. Okay, so there's our first half. We will peel our other layer of our onion here. Take that little piece off. Okay, and just give this a rough chop there. Now, once we've got our onions and garlic all chopped and ready to go, we're first going to want to start with the aromatics, which is our onions and garlic here. We're going to put these in to a pan on the stove, about medium-high heat for a few minutes. Get those flavors cooking, get that nice smell going, and then we're going to deglaze our pan, toss in some of our spinach and some cream, get it all together, dredge it over that chicken. All right, come join me over by the stove. Hey guys, Cook and Teach here. So I, as you can see, have started my pan on medium-high heat. I've already got a knob of butter, which is about 2 tablespoons of butter in there, along with our chopped garlic and chopped onions. You'll notice that I am constantly stirring and mixing in the pan. This is to avoid anything, especially the garlic, from burning. We want to make sure that we're keeping a close eye on this. Season with salt as needed. You'll notice I will be kind of seasoning throughout as we go. Once you start to smell the aromas of our aromatics, the onions and garlic, once that starts to really become more pungent and fragrant, you'll know that you're getting close to adding our next ingredient. Now, as this is starting to continue to cook, I'm going to go ahead and lower the temperature down to medium. I want to make sure, again, that I am continuing to stir to avoid especially the garlic from burning. We definitely do not want a burnt garlic taste in our sauce. That will ruin the sauce and ultimately not taste good over the top of our chicken. So again, I'm continuing to mix our garlic and onions here. I have the heat set to medium, lowering the temperature, but continuing to keep an eye and stir in our ingredients. After a little while here, we are going to add a series of ingredients, one of which is going to be a homemade chicken stock. Now, this homemade chicken stock I made just using chicken carcass and bones, along with some aromatics like onion, celery, and carrots, and boiled that in a pot for a couple of hours until developed a nice, rich color. Now, obviously, if you don't have, your homemade chicken stock, you by all means can go ahead and use just chicken stock from the store. I would opt for chicken stock versus a chicken broth. So I've got about a cup of my homemade chicken stock here. We're going to go ahead and pour that in the pan. This is going to help to deglaze the pan and pull up any of those wonderful tasty bits at the bottom of our pan. This is really what's going to send this sauce over the top and really give us that nice rich flavor from the onions and garlic. So you'll start to see that I am mixing that in, trying to avoid any splatter over the pan here, but continuing to stir to kind of dig up any of those tasty little bits. As I continue to stir, again, the heat is still set to medium. You'll start to notice around the edges of the pot there that it is starting to boil. We're going to want this sauce to reduce a little bit and cook off some of that chicken stock. That'll cook off some of the water, but leave all of that delicious, rich flavor that we're looking for here. So as this starts to simmer and boil, I'm going to kind of let it do its thing, get all those flavors to incorporate and get to know each other in the pan. After a little bit here, we're going to add our next ingredient. Our next ingredient is going to be about half a cup, closer to maybe 3/4 of a cup of heavy cream. This is going to give it its nice richness. Again, similar to the chicken stock, we're going to want to let that cook off. I'm also adding a half a cup of pepper jack cheese. This is to kind of, again, give this sauce that extra flavor. It's going to give it a little bit more of a creamy, cheesy texture that we're looking for to pour over the top of our chicken. So I'm going to go ahead and get to mixing this. We want all of that pepper jack cheese to melt, but we don't want any of it to burn. We don't want that, tacky, stringy cheese. We want it to just slowly melt into our sauce. So again, temperature here should be sitting at about medium. You're going to start to notice that this sauce is going to develop a nice, rich, kind of whitish yellow color. The sauce is also going to start to thicken. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for a little bit of a thicker consistency than that of maybe gravy. Next up, I've got about 2 to 3 tablespoons of tomato paste. Now, the reason why I'm incorporating this into our sauce is because I believe that the tomato paste is going to give it a nice acidic taste into our sauce. It's also going to give it a nice, vibrant, rich color, but it's not going to be overpowering. It's not going to taste like a spinach and tomato sauce. This is not like a marinara or anything like that. This is just enough to give it that little bit of acidity and that nice, bright, vibrant color. So you'll start to notice that it is starting to adhere to some of the sides of our pan. That's kind of what we're looking for. Again, we don't want anything to burn, so continuing to mix is key here. Next up comes our 1 cup of spinach. I'm using fresh spinach. I find that to work out a lot better than using any of the frozen stuff. When using frozen spinach, I find that a lot of it is water, and so we want to avoid adding water to our sauce. We want the sauce, again, to kind of be a little bit more thick than that of a gravy. We don't want a nice watery sauce. We don't want to have to pour that over our chicken and have it go all over the plate. So start to incorporate that spinach, ever so gently mixing that in and folding in our beautiful sauce. And as I'm starting to do this, you will notice that the spinach is going to start to wilt and become a very vibrant green color. Again, this is going to add a nice richness to it. Obviously, the pros of adding our spinach comes with all the great things that spinach and vegetables bring to a dish. Now, at this point, I'm going ahead and tasting for seasoning. So here I'm going to add a little pinch of salt and some cracked pepper. Obviously, it's important to kind of taste as you go and season as you go. Everyone's palate is a little bit differently. So in this particular example, I found that it definitely needed a little bit more salt and pepper. So obviously, as you season, adjust accordingly based off of your tastes and your palate. After adding those seasonings, I'm going to go ahead and give it a little bit more of a mix to get those flavors incorporated. Now, I am reducing our heat. At this point, the sauce is almost done. Give it one final taste here, just to make sure. All right, our chicken is done, our sauce is done. All we got to do now is plate and eat. Let's go ahead and put this down. Get ourselves a nice cross section here. Yeah. Listen to that crisp from the chicken. Smells delicious. Let's go ahead and plate. Get a bit of our sauce over the top of that. All right. Take a look at that. Doesn't that look absolutely delicious? But see how it tastes. Make sure we get the perfect bite. A little bit of that chicken, a delicious sauce with the spinach. Let's dig in. That is fantastic. Crispy, juicy. The chicken is seasoned perfectly. That sauce with a little bit of that tomato paste, the acidity really shines through there. The fresh, bright greens from the spinach. You get that wonderful aromatics from the onion and the garlic. This is great. This is perfect. I gotta go in for another bite. Oh my gosh. Out of this world. Ooey and gooey, a little bit of that cheese. Perfect bite for a nice cold night like today. Thank you so much for watching. Drop a comment down below. What do you want to see me cook next? What's your favorite way to prepare chicken? Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm Mr. C, the Cook and Teach. Have a wonderful day. And as always, Cook and Teach out.